Another Wednesday's come and gone, and I got some comics. Let's talk about them. Hey, welcome to Nine Panel Grid. This week, we've seen archetypal Western heroes, eager sidekicks, and an anthropomorphic bird on a quest for vengeance. We're going to kick things off here with Batman number 147, written by Chip Zdarsky with artwork by Jorge Jimenez. So this issue sees us kind of taking a step back from the action-packed issues that we've seen previously. This is really about Bruce going off the grid and trying to, maybe make his next steps as he prepares to take on Failsafe while staying completely away from Failsafe, knowing that he essentially knows everything that Bruce ever really had known previously. Where this issue kind of felt a little bit middle of the road, I think Zdarsky actually did a really great job on bringing forth the character work, kind of building up the people that are the main players in this story, primarily Bruce. But, on another aspect of it, I think that the duo of Robins that we see in this issue, being Damien working with Failsafe and Tim working with Bruce, I think he did a really great job incorporating them and making them the central players in in what the story was trying to convey with this, which is really that Bruce is not a solo player. Bruce understands that he can't do this without the strength and the power behind his family with him. So I think he did a really great job at really bringing that to the forefront and really spelling that out. Furthermore, I think Damien, with the revelation that he finds out that Failsafe is really truly not Bruce, I think the play with that is going to build with future issues, and I think it's going to play really well. With this being again an issue that was not action packed, Jorge Jimenez still had a lot of interesting things that he can do. It's not kinetic and it's not action packed like we've come to know from him in the past, but he really takes a couple cool opportunities to build and kind of use storytelling techniques that he's not necessarily associated for. There's some silhouette work that he does. There's a lot of really cool and interesting color choices that he's made, along with the colorist on this book, Tomei Mori, that really kind of like showed a different angle to what we've come to know from Jimenez. So I think it was a cool change of pace from him, and I'm here for it. So with that being said, Batman 147, a wholly worthwhile issue. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about Red Batman, otherwise known as Daredevil, with Daredevil number 9, written by Saladin Ahmed with artwork by Juan Cabal. So this is a direct continuation off of the previous issue. I mean, when I say direct, I mean direct. We see Matt and Elektra in the rafters of a building previously. They are falling from the rafters here, ready to attack Bullseye at the onset of this issue. And that's really what this issue is primarily about. It's Matt and Elektra taking the fight to Bullseye as they've come to the revelation that Wilson Fisk is going to be a main player. On top of that, we see Matt coming to grips with basically coming to terms with the fact that he needs to reconcile his new life with his old life, as some of the main players in his life previously, such as Foggy, such as Cole North, they are still completely in the dark that Matt is actually alive. So he's kind of coming to terms and he's kind of making amends for things like that. And I think Saladin Ahmed has done a really good job on crafting the story to kind of, take Matt on this journey. The only downside of this is that we've seen 9 issues so far, and one of those was a quote unquote milestone issue that was oversized. And throughout the journey of a 9 issue series so far, I feel like that we could have done more. It's time for Saladin Ahmed to really, kind of shift into second gear and take this story to the next step, because right now it's a little bit middling, and I want to see some more resolutions come through and some new quests or some new problems hit Matt's life. I'm ready for this angle to kind of take a step back and get into something new. With the artwork specifically, I think Juan Cabal did a fantastic job. In fact, I think he did so good that there's an argument that could be made that Aaron Cooter maybe should take a step back. Maybe he becomes the rotational artist and Juan Cabal can take the reins and really make Daredevil a more consistent story altogether, considering that Aaron Cooter has only really been able to do maybe 3 issues himself completely from start to finish. So I thought he did a really good job on this. I thought that I thought the action was really done well. It shows kineticism throughout every single page. He was able to deliver the heartfelt moments between people like Matt and Foggy. So like I said, maybe there's an argument to be made that he's the guy that takes the reins. So, with that being said, kind of a middling issue here, but not necessarily unsatisfactory either. With that being said, if you picked up Daredevil, let me know your thoughts. All right, with the last of the big two books that I've received this week, let's talk about Doctor Strange number 15, written by Jed MacKay with artwork by Pasquale Ferry. So this is a direct continuation from the end of Blood Hunt number one. And as we kind of saw, if you read that issue, Doctor Strange was really left in a compromised state, and this kind of deals with the ramifications of that and what needs to happen here as Clea is kind of stuck between a choice of stopping the vampiric assault on the Marvel Universe or caring for her husband and the love of her life. So if we take this issue and kind of compare it to just tie-in books in general, I think this is a step above. It told a compelling story. It was good enough. There was a lot of fun parts to the issue, but comparing it to every single issue of the previous 14 issues on Doctor Strange, and I have to be honest, it's probably the weakest issue of that bunch. It feels too connected with the Blood Hunt series that's going on, which I mean, I get it, it's written by the same writer, but I was really excited by everything that was happening in Doctor Strange previously, and this it feels like a gear that doesn't fit within the story that was being told previously. I feel like it's a little bit of a misstep, it's a little bit of a speed bump, and I'm not necessarily sure that it excited me in the way that I hoped it would. With that being said, Ferry did great work in this as he's done in every single previous issue, albeit he wasn't really given a lot to do. This was very much akin to like a bottle episode of a television show where it really just takes place in Doctor Strange's, living room, if that's what a sorcerer would call the room, in his mansion there. But yeah, I mean, it all takes place in one room. There's not a lot of things that go on because really the biggest action beat that we saw really took place at the end of Blood Hunt number one. So it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of trying to resolve an issue, but not a lot of anything else here. So, Doctor Strange number 15, I'm still along for the ride. It was just a little bit ho hum for me, though. All right, moving over to indies, we're going to start with a new number one with Ain't No Grave number one, written by Scotty Young with artwork by Jorge Corona. So the premise of this book so far is that Ryder, our protagonist, has to kind of leave her peaceful life behind as she kind of returns to her roots as a rootin' tootin' cowboy, and embarks on a mission to kind of destroy the thing that's threatening to kind of tear her away from her family and this peaceful life that she had to kind of move away from anyway. There's a lot of turns and twists with this, and I think that it leaves on a cool cliffhanger to kind of show you what the true essence of the thing that she's fighting is going to be. And I think Scotty Young really crafted a really cool story here. Furthermore, with his roots being an artist first and a writer secondary, at least in the span of his entire career, I think he is entrusting Corona and doing a lot of the heavy lifting on this. I can feel a sense of teamwork here because most of the story is told visually. Corona, his focus is really either way zoomed in as he looks to the characters and he looks to the expressiveness of their emotions as they're conveying them, as some of the heartbreaking moments of the story take place, or zoomed way out as Ryder is on her adventure and on her journey to embark on. And it takes just a vast look at the landscape that they're in, some of the things that they're looking towards, the journey that they're on. You see them in widescreen, and it just is it's fantastic. It's so full for your eyes. You have to take a moment to really um just linger on a page for a little bit and look at all of the work that he is putting forth in here, because you can see Scotty Young and Corona working together on this and really kind of, plotting this out and pacing it correctly, because there's nothing that feels out of place here. Even in multiple pages back to back with absolutely no words whatsoever, you get a sense of the story that's being told here, and you get a sense for the feelings of our main character. I think it was a really, really well done, masterful number one issue that's lays a foundation to just build on over and over and over. So Ain't No Grave number one, really exciting issue, and I can't wait to see the next one. Speaking of new number ones, we have Crocodile Black number one, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson with artwork by Salmith Pal. So this is kind of a time capsule story. It's written definitely during the height of COVID, as our main character Danny is a grocery deliverer during COVID, when everyone was really still on lockdown, and he stumbles upon a murder and makes some choices maybe that are going to put him right in the crosshairs of both the police and maybe the murderers themselves that conducted everything. Danny is kind of an interesting protagonist. I think that Philip Kennedy Johnson has crafted a character that is not necessarily easy to root for, but you can sympathize with him and maybe feel pity for. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but honestly, that's kind of what I took away from it. There's definitely issues with mental instability, possibly, and that is definitely a triggering thing with his family, as the connections that he tries to keep and make with them are strayed almost beyond repair. It feels like from issue one. So some of the decisions that he decides to make, you can see from a youthful character, and you can definitely see from a character that is having to pull away from his family. But it's a little bit disjointed as well. I think this is going to need a little bit of room to breathe to see where they're going to take everything. Now, the artwork, especially for a crime driven book, is fantastic. I think that Pal has this dark, moody, atmospheric approach on all of his work that is it's just fantastic. I mean, you feel the way that you should feel, the sense of dread as you turn every single page and look at these panels and see some of the choices that are made. Furthermore, there's a really cool artistic approach that's taken when it comes to our character Danny, having to sketch out certain things for his therapist to kind of reconcile with some of the things that have happened in his past. And those sketches start to become personified in things that we see in Danny's real life and see within the panels themselves. So there's some cool choices that are made there that really make things pop off the page. So really cool artistic choices. Really love them. With that being said, like I said, I mean this doesn't have its hooks in me yet, but I feel like it just needs maybe one or two more issues to breathe and open up and kind of give a sense for this world and this character. So with that being said, Crocodile Black, if you picked it up, let me know if you felt the same way. All right, moving into the world of Ghost Machine, let's talk about Geiger number two, written by Jeff Johns with artwork by Gary Frank. So this issue sees the glowing man and his new ward as they continue their journey to find this new nuclear-powered individual. As Tariq wants to understand fully how he is controlling his powers and maybe how to get rid of his powers altogether. So I think that Jeff Johns is really crafting a very interesting, very cool story with this main character, as he is very much the personification of the reluctant hero. He by no means wants to have his new sidekick at his side. He by no means wants to help this new township, as they are withholding information that is going to lead Tariq on his new position to find this other nuclear powered person. But through his journey and through the story, we are seeing how it is just an absolute that Tariq is going to have to do these things. And whether he is an active participant willingly or not, you're seeing the growth of that character through the choices that are being made and some of the cool things that are coming through on the story. Furthermore, Gary Frank is just masterful. He is drawing such an awesome, energetic issue, and some of the things that happen in this one, in particularly with a page splash, they just look awesome. The coloring is fantastic. The artwork is it's just awesome. He crafts an action set piece that is so exciting. And furthermore, it just there's something that feels classic about it. Whereas the image founders felt like they were just like anagrams for the Marvel heroes at the time, because all the creators really came from the Marvel bullpen and came and created image. Whereas Ghost Machine so far kind of feels like anagrams for the DC superheroes, and this feels like a classic DC story as well. So it's been really fun and exciting, and I'm definitely here for it. Geiger number two, let me know what you thought. All right, next up, let's talk The Sacrificers, issue number 8, written by Rick Remender with artwork by Max Fiumara. So the main character in this, Pigeon, is finally freed from his captors and he's empowered with these new godly abilities. And what we're seeing is that he's trying to reconcile all his feelings, knowing exactly what the end game was going to be with him as a sacrifice. He's trying to make the trek back to his family and, through all these lands, and trying to explain really what is happening and what the gods are truly doing when these sacrifices are being made, and he's being met with absolutely nothing but resistance. Furthermore, with the moon being gone, we're seeing devastation of the lands throughout all of these different landscapes. But what's happening is that with Pigeon not making his sacrifice, he's being seen as the cause of all these things to happen. Remender, when he's writing this, he's playing with a lot of different ideas, and he is definitely not holding your hand through the story. There's a lot of big ideas, and there's a lot of big notions that are being made with this. In this issue in particular, we're really looking at Pigeon, the lowest of the low characters, right on the totem pole as far as power within the story itself. And we're seeing him trying his best to work through all of the decisions that were made and work through all of the devastation he's seen, and trying to make sense of it all, being that he was knew he was going to be a sacrifice, and now knowing that the nature of everything that's happened was absolutely not the promise that was left towards everyone else that who is not a sacrifice. He's trying to work his way through that, and we're seeing imperfect characters, whether they be as low as Pigeon, our character, or as high as all of the gods, making some of these wild and crazy decisions, or maybe some of these more nuanced decisions as they see maybe their path wasn't the correct way to take. Um, Remender always, while these things are big ideas and while they are very nuanced and while they're very difficult, Remender has a wonderful way of making sure his characters strive to be the best versions of what they can be. Whereas, we see in real life situations, it is very often easier to turn a blind eye towards things. A Remender character will never do that. They will always make the difficult decision if it's for the betterment of themselves, their family, or society. And Pigeon is no different. He's definitely now embarked on a new journey with new things that he is setting his eye towards, which could be vengeful depending on how that road goes. But I'm definitely going to be along for the ride. Now, Fiumara, I'm disheartened to know that he only has 2 issues left to draw on this, but I'm going to take every single one of those and just cherish them because his artwork is fantastic in this. When we're seeing the devastation of the land, we feel it. You see the crumbling buildings. We see, the towns washed away, and we see the remnants of Pigeon's old, house that he grew up in, and his family completely gone, and you feel it, and you feel the emotion that he conveys with all these different characters. So I'm hoping that the artistic level can stay as high as he has set the bar for. But with that being said, I'm just loving this book through and through, and I hope you are too. With our runner up pick of the week, we're going to go with The Boy Wonder #1, written and drawn by Junie Ba. So, this has been a really cool approach on a story, as we kind of know the background of Damien at this point, unless you're a brand new reader. We understand that he's the new Robin, we understand that he's the son of Bruce, and all of the background interactions he's had as a struggling Robin as he reconciles with what he was trained to do by the League of Assassins and what he is expected to do as a Robin and under the tutelage of Bruce. This is written in a really interesting way, as it's almost like a fairy tale story retelling of Damien's earliest days as Robin, and how he is kind of thrust himself into this journey of making sure that every single other Robin knows that he is the superior Robin and he should have had this mantle all the while. Um, it's really playing with a lot of different notions that I think are going to be fun here, because we know that Damien is headstrong, and we know that he rushes into these situations, and we know that he is able to take on a lot of these, but the headstrong nature of the character is definitely going to put him in harm's way. The other Robins, as we've experienced, especially in this issue with Dick Grayson, they've already gone through these journeys. And while they may not have been trained in the same way that Damien was, they've also still learned some of these hard lessons. And through the Damien seeing how Dick takes on one of these crimes, I think that he's learning more and more, even though he's not willing to see that through. I'm excited to see the other Robin interactions as they keep coming from issue to issue here, especially with Juniba's artwork. He has a crisp, clean approach on here. It's a very simplistic approach, but I think that it leaves way for a lot of the storytelling to just feel open and airy. There's not too much line work that's going to bog down this. It's not like an overly rendered picture. Everything is precise. Everything is in its place here. And when an action scene needs to take place, it's extremely energetic. There was an awesome scene here with Clayface here that, quite honestly, you just need to see it because it's absolutely worthwhile to pick up this book for that scene only. So with that being said, the Boy Wonder, it was a really cool approach for what we wanted to see here from a Robin book, even with all the background that we already knew. This is an inventive way to take on this character here, and I think it's one of the best things that DC does with some of their characters making evergreen stories. And finally, with our top comic of the week, let's talk The One Hand #4, written by Ram V with artwork by Lawrence Campbell. So the two dueling series here, The One Hand and The Six Fingers, are definitely coming to their climax with only one issue left here with The One Hand and I believe two left with The Six Fingers. We've seen the killer now, we've seen the motivations behind it, and Ari, our main detective in The One Hand, he's starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together and he's understanding more about the motivations of this killer and maybe some of the abilities that he has. We've seen that the killer is definitely targeting a subset of individuals, and that puts the timetable for Ari to solve this at basically ramping it up to 10. Not only that, but all the while, Ari has now the police tailing him and looking into him being a suspect of these murders, seeing that he's been kind of like working in conjunction with all these things that have been happening, and there's already questions along the lines of the people that he has put away previously for these murders. There's definitely an air of maybe Ari had something to do with it from the police themselves. So not only is he searching for the killer, but he's also running from the people searching for him at the same time. Rom has done like a really great job in this issue in particular, but in every issue of this series, kind of spoon feeding us answers over and over and over while also delivering new questions. And it's kind of keeping the ball rolling at a nice pace. And it's a good momentum to keep the reader engaged with the story that's happening without everything just kind of bogging down and coming to a halt here. And I think the nature of how they're writing these stories, him and Dan Waters, kind of this back and forth between them, has kept the story lively as they don't necessarily know how the other issue is going to end. So when they pick up the pieces, they're having to make sure that they're staying creative with how they're delivering this new information over and over as well. Campbell has also done a fantastic job with this. I feel like he is a modern day Alex Maleev with some of the approaches that he's taking with the artwork. He's continuing to weave different mysteries within the pages themselves, as well as there is the language of the killer, right? The markings that he leaves at every crime scene. We're seeing these things incorporated in window panes on different panels. We're seeing the panel work themselves incorporate this language in, and I think this is going to be a series. In fact, I don't think I know that this is going to be a series that is going to be worthwhile to reread once it's all over, because I feel like there's another story that's an unraveling behind the scenes that maybe we're not privy to, that's really all going to open up once we look at this with fresh eyes and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this has been here from issue 1 and they told us all this information in issue 4. We just needed to take the time and really breathe and look at all the information that's being conveyed specifically by Campbell that was going to tell a story maybe that wasn't being told in the narrative specifically itself. So this is just a fantastic read. I love this book through and through. Right now, this early in the year, it feels like a contender for best book of the year. But with that being said, I've said a lot of words here. I'd like to know, what did you think of this book? So that's what I've got for you this week, but I'm more curious. What did you read and what were your thoughts? Like, share, and subscribe if you found benefit from this video, and do me a favor, leave a comment down below and be part of the panel. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you later.